What's going on? I wasn't going to do it. Famous last words. Is that right? I wasn't going to do it, but a comment made me think, you know what, maybe I will. And I already was thinking I was going to do Fish Out of Water and did that. Now getting comments about the solo albums. Steve Howe's apparently. I got a comment, Steve Howe's is bad, mostly because of the singing. I don't want to hear that. I was thinking it would be great because the playing, right? But he's singing on it, and yeah, okay, so maybe not. And people saying that the best ones are Chris Squire's and John Anderson's, so we're going to do John Anderson's now. This is OLIAS of Sunhillow, which, my God. I don't know, whatever. Just those kind of, I already get the vibe. I'm like, oh, okay, all right, we'll see. Anyways, maybe I don't. Maybe I'm being judgmental. I am. Unnecessarily harsh. I get it. Okay, so, OLIAS of Sunhillow, debut studio album by English singer-songwriter John Anderson, July 1976, Atlantic Records, when the prog rock band Yes took a break in activity in August 75 for each member to record a solo album. Anderson, having established himself as their frontman, decided upon a concept album that tells the story of 4 tribes of an alien race. Oh, perfect, buddy. Of an alien race and their journey to a new planet about after their home is threatened by a volcanic eruption. So did it... all right, I'm not going to read into what the story could potentially... I'm just thinking, okay, so that's kind of like living on the Big Island, right? It's threatened by volcanic eruption, like all the time, mostly, right? So they all just left. That's not what the Big Island people did. Anyways, okay. OLIAS, a magician, of course, that's why, builds a spacecraft named the Morglade Mover and is helped by fellow magicians Ranyard and Kokok. I'm saying that, I definitely am going to be saying that wrong, to gather and carry the population to their new home. The album was recorded using a mobile studio situated at Anderson's country home in Sear Green, Buckinghamshire, with himself as the sole producer and Mike Doon as the engineer. Musically, the album features elements of prog rock with psychedelic folk, experimental electronics, and world music, and features Anderson playing every instrument. Now, this is a big reason, actually, why I wanted to check this out. Because after I looked up, when I was doing Fish Out of Water, after I looked up all the albums of the solo albums of everybody, and yes, sorry, I'm a little under the weather, so, like, my brain isn't, it's like sick brain. Anyways, when I saw that John Anderson is the only person listed on the album, I'm like, so is he playing all these instruments? So now there's the answer. Yes, he is, which includes a variety of keyboards, guitars, and percussion. The track Ocean Song, which is the first one that we're going to do in this video, was performed live at select shows during Yes's 1976 North American tour. That's interesting. Okay. So that's a big reason why I wanted to check it out, is because he's playing all the instruments. OLIAS of Sunhillow peaked at number 8 in UK album charts, the best performing chart position of the solo albums released by the band at the time. Reached number 47 US Billboard charts, received generally favorable reviews from music critics. Background of writing. By mid-1975, Anderson had been the lead vocalist in prog rock for 7 years. In August of that year, the band took a hiatus, completed the 74-75 tour in support of their 7th album, Relayer. The group, who had been recording and touring consistently for the past 5 years, felt a break was necessary and agreed to take time off for each member to make their own solo album. So not really time off. I mean, you know. For his solo effort, Anderson wished to present a concept album which told a semi-science fiction story inspired by the artwork that Roger Dean had designed for Yes's 4th album, Fragile. Ah, and that's where this album cover comes from, I see. Dean's first piece of work for the group, the front cover depicts a tiny planet breaking apart and a glider escaping into space, which Anderson adapted into the story with additional inspiration from the novels The Finding of the Third Eye and The Initiation of the Worlds by writer, painter, and mystic Vera Stanley Alder, and The Lord of the Rings trilogy by J.R.R. Tolkien. The latter book, by Alder, describes the theory of 4 nature tribes that once lived on the planet Negro, Oriental, Nordic, and Asian, which became the 4 tribes in Elias that were not of people but music consciousness tribes. Oh boy. On the first day of recording, Anderson had yet to have a concrete story, but started to formulate one slowly from watching the sunrise that morning. This is just so freaking hippie. Okay. He spent about a year on the story. Looking back on the album, Anderson thought it was not that well mapped out with vague interpretations of the different characters and settings. I just thought of the story as 3 magicians coming out of space to take these tribes from one planet to another to save them from destruction. It's a very simple story. I hope it will be taken on a level without people thinking there are any hidden meanings. Anderson's growing desire to learn about musical structure and his own performing capabilities with various instruments made OLIAS of Sunhillow a platform for him to explore this with a self-taught approach without help from other musicians. He had previously relied on his Yes Band mates for seeing his ideas for songs through. Despite his insecurities regarding his own instrumental abilities, he had collected multiple instruments during Yes tours and dabbled with them. Having considered spending time learning to play the piano with a teacher, he eventually decided against this, choosing instead to spend several months practicing on everything within his instrument collection until he was satisfied that he'd progressed enough to record with them. Halfway through the album, it became clear to Anderson what he could and could not do. You just find out where you're at in being able to express yourself. It was an intense period of time. Despite not being proficient with keyboards or percussion instruments at the time, Anderson thought that what I've pulled off attracts me and sounds right, and focused on the accuracy of expressing his ideas to tape rather than the technical ability of his playing. Yeah, and I mean, I would say that's way huge nowadays, because everybody can record, and all you need is just to, get the instruments, and you just record until you get the take, right? It's like, okay. And, for some people, for pros, for people that are proficient at the instrument, that could be one take. So, anyways, plot. The planet of Sunhillow is home to 4 tribes: Negrunium, Asatranius, Oractanium, and Nordranius. Okay. Each of which represents a different aspect of music consciousness, which comes under threat after a catastrophic eruption of its volcano. So they, survive? That's what I'm saying, okay, anyways. I don't need to get into it. Elias, a magician, is the chosen architect of an ark named the Morglade Mover to fly Sunhillow's people to a new planet. He is helped by fellow magicians Rainyard, the harp-playing navigator of the glider, the Coquake. Okay, good. Pronounced Coquake. Thank God they said that, because I'm like, yo. Coquake. The mystic and appointed spokesperson who unites the 4 tribes to leave the planet together. Elias fashions the Morglade Mover by persuading Sunhillow's trees and fish to sacrifice their lives and substance to form it, while Coquake travels across Sunhillow using trance singing to bring together the mutually suspicious tribes to unite and board the ship. With the population on board and in a collective trance, the ship... This sounds like it's all against their will. I need to suspend my disbelief for a lot of this, for this, apparently. Okay. The ship leaves Sunhillow just before the planet explodes into millions of silent teardrops. Wow. As the glider travels, as I've said before, I'm not like a movie person. I can't, and if I'm going to read anything, it's not fiction. It's not, because I just can't. I just can't. The furthest I go with any of that is music. So I'm like, reading this, okay, I'd rather just listen to it and be taken away in that kind of way. Anyways. Okay. As the glider travels through deep space, the refugees succumb to the mysterious Moon-Ra, a force of disorientation. It sounds like they're already in a trance, right? So, how more disoriented are they? I'm going to be really bad at this. Creating an evil form out of their panic and frustration, they are reassured and reunified by Elias through his singing of chords of love and life. Wow. The Morglade Mover lands on the plains of a new planet named Asgard, and the tribes disembark and go their separate ways. Their mission completed, Elias Ranyard and Coquake ascend the highest of Asgard's mountains to sleep and become one with the universe. Okay, now that is over, let's get to the important stuff. The more important stuff, recording. Okay, the album, the stuff that I'm actually interested in. Right, I'm not interested in any of that other crap. I'm not going to catch any of it. I don't care. He already said not to read into it. Okay. Album was recorded in approximately 4 months in Anderson's then home at Long Grove in Sear Green, Buckinghamshire, which housed a garage that housed a mobile recording studio named the Mobile Mobile. Good job. Anderson performed all the vocals and instruments himself, playing over 30 instruments, among them different types of keyboards, guitars, lutes, percussion, harp, wooden flute, Asian bell, sitar, Moog synthesizer, and Turkish saz. He still considered his voice his primary instrument and used layered vocals to create impressions of a new language on Sound Out the Galleon. He chose the words particularly for his voice as he was technically unable to play a dedicated solo on an instrument and called them a vocal exercise. Sang it until we created 20 voices and finished up with this tangible energy. 2/3 of the album was initially recorded in demo form onto 8-track tape, which Anderson used as a guide to track the complete arrangements that were then recorded on the 24-track. To help with operating the recording desk and obtaining the desired sound for the album, Anderson hired Yes sound engineer Mike Doon. Anderson worked for as long as 10 hours a day on the album and took weekends off. Anderson praised Doon's involvement on the project, particularly during the mixing stage, second side of which lasted within a week. Mixing the first side, however, was problematic because Anderson continued to make changes to the music due to his dissatisfaction with it. In the end, Anderson commented on the final mix that, with Doon's help, it was what I wanted to hear. Mike was more than the second man. He was part of the mix. In the end, over 100 tracks were used to make the album. Pressure of recording it resulted in delays which caused the length to push its release by some months. Anderson said, "There were points when I didn't think I was going to finish it and that I was going to end up a nervous wreck." Anderson was cautious over the music and refused to play it to anyone in case they did not like it, including his wife and Atlantic president Ahmet Ergen. Doon was the only other person that heard the album. Wow. Anderson named Yes keyboardist Rick Wakeman, Patrick Moraz, and Greek keyboardist and composer Vangelis as influences in his keyboard work on the album. After the album was finished, management of RCA Records informed Vangelis, who was signed to the label at the time, of their dissatisfaction that he had played on OLIAS of Sunhillow without informing them. Oh, rude. Vangelis denied any involvement on the album, despite RCA having thought the keyboards on the album were performed in his style. Vangelis said, "I myself was very surprised it had my name on the thank you list. Maybe I have influenced John, I don't know, and it's clear that it's closer to this than you get with Yes. But maybe it's a coincidence. In any case, it's a formidable feat. There is such a record when it features, like John, a debutante on keyboards. I believe the record represents more the way he is than what he does with Yes, no offense intended. Anderson is not an instrumentalist in the old sense of the term, and yet he has made with lots of effort a marvelous record." Cool, that's what I want to hear. I don't care that he played all the instruments. I'm interested in it because of that. All right, let's do the first track. Most of the tracks are short. There's one long track, specifically long track. This is Ocean Song. I'm sorry, I am feeling a little bit under the weather, so hopefully I'm not like sneezing or anything crazy during this. I got my tea over here. Oh, yeah. All right, Ocean Song. Let's get to it. Bam. Okay. Oh, I wonder if a lot of this album is going to just go from one to the next. Okay. I mean, that's not how I'm going to do it, but it sounds like that's what was about to happen. That's cool. I dig it. You know, this is like scene setting, mood setting for the album. That's what it sounds like to me. I like how it developed. I like the sounds. They're interesting. Whatever that was. Harp, Irish harp, maybe. Sounded cool. I liked it. I mean, you know, it's not much to it, but it's just scene setting, mood setting. Dig it. Cool. All right. Yeah, we'll see how like the vocal sections come in. Yeah, how all this kind of develops the rest of the album. All right. Up next, Meeting. Meeting, Garden of Geta, Sound Out the Galleon. Okay, so that's up next. I'll catch you then. Later.